My family told everyone I couldn't afford a room at the resort. They laughed about it beside the fireplace, holding champagne glasses that cost more than my weekly grocery bill used to. My sister said I was probably spending Christmas in one of those cheap roadside motels I worked with. My mother smiled like she felt sorry for me. My father shook his head and said, "Some people just aren't built for success." I stood behind them in the lobby, listening to every word, and the funny part was, at midnight, I was going to own the entire resort. Not just their suite, not just the restaurant, not just the private ski lodge they were bragging about. The whole mountain property. And none of them knew. For 27 years, my family believed I was the disappointing daughter, the one who didn't join the family law firm, the one who didn't marry well, the one who wasted her degree working in guest services. That was what they called it when they wanted to sound polite. Guest services. Hospitality. Hotels. As if building a life around taking care of people made me small. My older sister, Cassandra, had always been the golden one. Perfect grades, perfect smile, perfect husband, perfect home in Greenwich. She understood how to stand in photographs, how to laugh softly at expensive dinners, how to make our parents feel like their sacrifices had produced something valuable. I was different. I liked quiet hallways after midnight. I liked watching exhausted families check into hotels and finally breathe because somebody treated them kindly. I liked the invisible architecture of comfort. Fresh sheets, warm lighting, a front desk employee who remembered your name, a room that felt safe after a terrible day. My family thought that meant I lacked ambition. They never understood that hospitality wasn't about towels and keycards. It was about dignity. And dignity became the foundation of everything I built. The Montclair Winter Gala was my family's biggest event every year. 3 generations of the Whitmore family gathered at the St. Aurelia Resort in Lake Tahoe. Politicians, judges, law partners, old money people who wore simple sweaters that cost $2,000 and pretended not to care about status while measuring everyone by it. Cassandra planned everything: the menu, the seating chart, the floral arrangements, even the welcome gifts in each suite. She loved controlling beautiful things, especially when those beautiful things made her look important. I arrived 2 hours before dinner, wearing a plain navy coat, no designer bag, no diamond earrings, no visible proof that I mattered. That was important. I wanted to see who they were when they still thought I was nobody. The lobby was enormous, all white stone, dark wood, and glass walls looking out over snow-covered pines. A fire crackled in a fireplace taller than my apartment had been at 22. A pianist played something soft near the bar. Guests moved through the lobby like they owned winter itself. My family stood near the center of it all. Cassandra was wrapped in cream cashmere, one hand resting on her husband's arm. My father held a glass of scotch. My mother adjusted the pearl necklace she wore when she wanted people to know she had taste. Aunt Lorraine was the first to mention me. "Is Nora coming?" My mother sighed before anyone else could answer. "Oh, I doubt it. She said she had work." Cassandra gave a small laugh. "She always says that." My father took a slow sip of his drink. "She could have had a real career if she'd joined the firm." There it was, the old sentence. the one they repeated so often it probably felt like truth now. Cassandra tilted her head. I mean, she's happy, I guess. Some people are fine living simply. Simply? Aunt Lorraine asked. She does hotel consulting, Cassandra said, with the exact tone people use when they say community theater. My mother lowered her voice. I heard she still helps manage budget properties. The group made the soft, polite sound wealthy people make when they're judging someone but don't want to appear cruel. I stood behind a stone column, my phone in my hand, listening. Then Cassandra said the sentence that settled everything inside me. Honestly, maybe it's better she isn't here. Everyone at this event is so accomplished. I wouldn't want her to feel uncomfortable. I almost laughed, because that was the beautiful thing about people who look down on you. They always pretend they're protecting you from shame, when really, they're protecting themselves from being associated with you. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel, my chief operating officer. Acquisition documents signed. St. Aurelia transfers at 12 a.m. Full control confirmed. Press release scheduled for 12:01. I looked at the time. 11:43 p.m. 17 minutes. Cassandra was still talking. She should have listened to Dad. Law is stable, respectable. But no, Nora had to follow her passion. My father made a tired sound. Passion doesn't build legacy. I stepped out from behind the column. No, I said calmly. But ownership does. They turned. For 1 second, nobody recognized me as a threat. That was always their mistake. Nora, my mother said, startled. How did you get in? I walked through the front door. Cassandra blinked, then smiled tightly. I thought you couldn't make it. You mean I wasn't invited to the dinner? Her face hardened instantly. That's not fair. Isn't it? My father looked around, embarrassed by the possibility of a scene. Nora, not here. Of course, not here. Not in public. Not where people might hear. The Whitmore family could humiliate you privately for years, but if you reacted once in public, suddenly you were the problem. Cassandra stepped closer and lowered her voice. This is an important weekend for the family. Please don't make it about your feelings. I looked at her cream cashmere sweater, her perfect posture, the diamond bracelet on her wrist. Then I looked at the resort around us, the lobby, the staff, the lights, the guests, the life's work she was standing inside without knowing it. My feelings? I asked. Yes, she said. This isn't one of your little boutique motel projects. This place matters to people. The words hit less than they should have. Maybe because I had heard versions of them my whole life. Little job, little life, little dreams, little Nora. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. 10 minutes. My mother stepped in quickly. Sweetheart, Cassandra didn't mean it that way. Yes, she did. My mother froze. I looked at her directly. And so did you. That silence was different. It wasn't dramatic. It was uncomfortable. The kind of silence that begins when someone stops accepting the family script. My father put his glass down. You're being disrespectful. I smiled. Funny. I was just thinking the same thing. Before he could answer, the resort manager approached, a nervous man named Peter Hale, though my family didn't know I knew him. He had managed St. Aurelia for 8 years. He also knew that, as of midnight, I would become his new employer. "Miss Whitmore?" he said carefully. Cassandra smiled automatically, assuming he meant her. "Yes?" Peter looked past her, at me. "Miss Nora Whitmore," he clarified. "The boardroom is prepared whenever you're ready." My mother frowned. Cassandra's smile disappeared. My father looked between us. "The boardroom?" he asked. Peter swallowed. "Yes, sir." Cassandra laughed once, too sharp. There must be some mistake. Peter looked terrified. "There isn't." The first crack appeared in my sister's face. Small, but visible. I checked my watch. 11:56. 4 minutes. "Thank you, Peter," I said. "I'll be there shortly." He nodded and left. Cassandra stared at me. "What was that?" "Work." "At this resort?" "Yes." My father's expression changed. Not fear yet, suspicion. "Nora, what exactly do you do?" I looked at him. For a moment, I considered telling him. Right there, before the press release, before the lobby screens changed, before the world explained it for me. But then I remembered every Thanksgiving where I sat at the far end of the table while Cassandra's promotions became speeches and my work became jokes. I remembered my father introducing me as still figuring things out when I had already opened my third property. I remembered my mother asking me to keep conversations light around family friends because not everyone understands service work. I remembered Cassandra telling me last year that success required polish, not kindness. So I said nothing. I simply turned toward the lobby screens. 11:59. The pianist stopped playing. Not because of me, because midnight was approaching and the resort's internal systems were scheduled to switch branding. The golden St. Aurelia logo vanished from the largest screen above the fireplace. For one strange second, the screen went black. Then, new lettering appeared. Vera Collection acquires St. Aurelia Resort in historic luxury hospitality expansion. Below it came the headline, Founder Nora Whitmore completes $3.2 billion acquisition portfolio across North America. My mother gasped first. Aunt Lorraine whispered, "Oh my God." Cassandra didn't move. My father's face went completely still. Then, my photograph appeared on the screen. Not glamorous, not soft. Not the family version of me. A professional portrait taken in New York 6 months earlier. Dark suit, calm expression. The caption read, Nora Whitmore, founder and CEO of Vera Collection. Cassandra's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the marble floor. Nobody moved to clean it. For once, the people who usually summoned staff with 2 fingers had forgotten how to speak. I turned back to my family. "You were saying something about my little motel projects?" My father opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "You own Vera?" "No," I said. "I built Vera." That landed harder. Ownership could be inherited. Built could not. Cassandra's face had gone pale beneath her perfect makeup. Vera Collection owns this resort? As of 1 minute ago, yes. My mother touched the back of a chair like she needed support. But we're staying here. Yes, I said. Then I looked at Cassandra. In the presidential chalet. Her lips parted slightly. The realization arrived before I said it, and I let her feel it, just for a second. Then I took out my phone and called Daniel. Please cancel the Whitmore family's complimentary chalet upgrade. My father snapped back to life. Nora! I held up one finger. Yes, I said into the phone. Standard booking only. No private dining access. No gala privileges charged to the property. And please review the guest conduct notes. Cassandra whispered, You can't do that. I ended the call. I can. It's Christmas, my mother said weakly. Yes, I said. And for the first time, everyone is getting what they earned. My father's face darkened. Don't talk to your mother like that. I turned to him slowly. Something in my chest, something old and tired, finally stopped shaking. You spent 20 years teaching me that respect was something people earned through status. Now I have more status than anyone in this room. And suddenly, you want kindness. His jaw tightened. That's different. No, it's just uncomfortable when the rules start applying to you. Cassandra stepped toward me, voice low and desperate. You're humiliating us. I looked at the broken glass on the floor. At least I waited until you were adults. That silenced her. Because she knew. They all knew. Humiliation had been part of my childhood. Not loud, not theatrical, but constant. The eye rolls, the corrections, the little jokes, the conversations that stopped when I entered the room. The way Cassandra's achievements were framed and hung, while mine were explained away as luck. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Nora, we didn't know. I laughed softly. That was the point. She flinched. You didn't need to know I was rich to treat me with dignity. The next morning, my family requested a meeting. Not through me, through the concierge. That almost made me smile. Power has a strange way of teaching manners. I was in the executive office overlooking the lake when Peter called. They're downstairs, Ms. Whitmore. Send them up. 10 minutes later, they entered quietly. No champagne, no laughter, no expensive confidence. Just 4 people who had spent one night discovering what it felt like to lose special treatment. Cassandra wore yesterday's clothes. My father looked older. My mother's eyes were swollen from crying. Aunt Lorraine had wisely stayed away. Good for her. Cassandra spoke first. The staff said our private dining reservation was gone. Yes. And the chalet staff was reassigned. Yes. And the gala committee said our family table was removed from the front. I leaned back. Correct. Her voice cracked. Nora, everyone is asking questions. I imagine they are. You don't understand what this does to us socially. And there it was. Still, after everything, Not what this did to you, not we hurt you, not we were cruel, only what this does to us. My father stepped forward. We made mistakes. No, I said. Mistakes are when you forget a birthday. You built an entire family system around deciding who mattered more. He went quiet. My mother covered her mouth. Cassandra looked away. I opened a folder on my desk. Inside were old emails, messages, screenshots, invitations I never received. Family threads where they discussed whether I should be included. I didn't need revenge. I had receipts. I slid one page across the desk. Cassandra stared down at it. Her own message from 8 months earlier. Do we really need Nora at the charity dinner? She makes everything feel less polished. Her hand trembled. I slid another. From my mother. Maybe invite her later, after the photos. Another. From my father. Let Cassandra handle the guest list. She understands the image we need. The office became very quiet. This, I said, is why I didn't tell you. My mother whispered, You saw those? I saw all of them. Cassandra's voice broke. I didn't think you'd ever find out. I nodded slowly. That is not an apology. She started crying then. Real tears, maybe. Or fear. At that point, I didn't fully trust myself to know the difference. My father sat down without asking. I thought I was protecting the family name. I looked at him. No. You were protecting a version of the family where I didn't embarrass you. He closed his eyes. My mother reached for me, but stopped halfway. For once, she understood she had no right. What do you want from us? She asked. That question almost broke me, because part of me wanted to say, I want you to go back in time. I want you to clap when I opened my first hotel. I want you to ask about my life before headlines made it interesting. I want you to love me when I'm tired and ordinary. I want you to be proud before the world tells you I am worth something. But none of that was possible. So I said the only thing I could. I want honesty. Cassandra wiped her face. I was ashamed of you. My mother inhaled sharply. Cassandra didn't stop. I was. I thought your work made us look common. I thought if people knew my sister worked in hotels, they'd think less of me. She looked at the floor. And I liked feeling above you. That was the first true thing she had said. It hurt, but it was clean pain, the kind that can become something else. My father's voice came rough. I underestimated you because I didn't respect work I couldn't brag about at dinner. My mother cried harder. I let them. I looked at them for a long time. Outside, snow fell quietly over the lake. Guests moved through the courtyard below, carrying luggage, laughing, living moments they would remember because someone invisible had made comfort possible. That was always the part my family missed. Behind every beautiful life, someone is working. Someone is cleaning the room. Someone is carrying the bag. Someone is answering the phone at midnight. Someone is making sure the heat works, the sheets are clean, The lights feel warm. The door opens. My empire had never been built on luxury. It had been built on respect for invisible work. I stood. "There's a staff breakfast downstairs in 20 minutes. Cassandra blinked. "What?" "You wanted gala access. You can start with breakfast." My father frowned. "With the staff?" "Yes." My mother looked confused. "You want us to eat there?" "I want you to listen there." None of them spoke. "If you can sit with the people you used to look through and learn their names, maybe we can talk again." Cassandra wiped her face. "And if we don't?" I picked up my tablet. "Then enjoy the Mountain Pine Inn. I hear they had 3 cancellations." It was not a luxury property. My father almost objected, then stopped himself. Good. Growth sometimes begins with the first swallowed complaint. They came to breakfast. Awkwardly. Quietly. Badly at first. Cassandra tried to thank a housekeeper named Elena in the stiff tone people use when performing humility. Elena smiled politely and kept eating. My father asked the maintenance supervisor how long he had been in service, which nearly made me close my eyes. But slowly, something shifted. Not dramatically. Real change is rarely dramatic. My mother listened to a front desk agent talk about working double shifts to pay for nursing school. My father learned that the valet manager had a degree in economics. Cassandra sat beside Elena and heard about the guests who left rooms destroyed, then complained about housekeeping fees. For the first time in my life, my family looked uncomfortable for the right reasons. 3 months later, Vera launched the Whitmore Hospitality Scholarship. The name was not for my family. It was for every version of me who had ever been told that service work was small. The first recipient was Elena's daughter. The second was the son of a night auditor from Denver. The third was a cook from Phoenix who wanted to study hotel design. At the launch event, Cassandra came alone. No cameras, no designer entrance, no need to be seen. She stood near the back until it ended. Then she approached me. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "Good." She nodded. I deserved that. We stood in silence. Then she handed me a small envelope. Inside was a photograph. Me at 16, standing outside a tiny roadside inn during our family trip to Vermont. I remembered that day. Everyone had complained about the inn. Too small, too plain, too ordinary. But I had loved it. The owner had let me help fold welcome cards for guests. It was the first time I understood that a place could make people feel safe. On the back of the photo, Cassandra had written, "I should have seen you sooner." I stared at it for a long time. Then I looked at my sister. "You should have." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know." That was all she said. No excuses, no performance, no request. For once, she didn't ask me to make her feel better. And maybe that was the beginning. Not of forgiveness, not yet, but of something more honest. A year later, the St. Aurelia Resort became the highest-rated property in the Vera collection. Not because of celebrity guests, not because of the press, because of the staff. Because every employee had stock options. because every housekeeper made a living wage, because every front desk worker could earn leadership training, because no guest, no matter how wealthy, was allowed to treat people like furniture. My father eventually joined the scholarship board, not as chairman, not as donor of honor, as a volunteer interviewer. My mother began writing handwritten thank you notes to staff after every stay. Cassandra took a job with a nonprofit that helped hospitality workers with legal aid. Maybe they changed. Maybe guilt became action. Maybe action became character. I don't know. I'm careful with hope now. But I know this. The night my family mocked me in that lobby, they thought they were standing above me. They thought the resort made them important. They thought service made me small. Then the clock struck midnight, and the building changed hands. But the real ownership had nothing to do with property. For the first time in my life, I owned the truth. I owned my worth. I owned the right to stop begging people to see me. And that was worth more than every hotel I ever bought.